emotions aren't reality. They feel like reality. There is an emotional reality, and then there is a logical, scientific reality. And those two things can be so many worlds apart. Those two things can just be endlessly different. But the emotional reality is the one that feels the most real, I think, when you're going through really intense things. All of my music is deep. All of my music comes from, like, there's something behind what's being said, like off, dichotomy to like good days. Even though it feels and sounds like this just very like summery anthem, there was a thought process behind that song of like escapism. And every good feeling anthem I've written has come from what I've wanted to feel, not what I've actually felt. And that was like intentional. Like, it's not like it was a lie. It's like, no, it's like intentional. And what's so interesting is that this music is the first music I've written that's not trying to sound like it isn't emotional. That's not trying to sound like it isn't coming from exactly what it is. I think I've always been hesitant, even though I started out writing music as a storyteller. The first music I was making was me sitting with an acoustic guitar talking about my life and things I was going through. When I got into doing hip hop and doing R&B, I started to float away from that because it was so much more, I think, exciting to tell the sexy stories and tell the angry stories and tell the whatever emotion was bigger than just me being myself fully and completely and just going through whatever I was going through. Like, other than this project, like, I would say probably Clairvoyance is like the most vulnerable I've ever been, but it was done in such a way that it didn't risk anything. Like, in my head, it didn't risk anything because even though it was so vulnerable, it was masked behind really sexy bass lines and really infectious drum patterns and really, smooth verses and catchy hooks. And all of that is part of my DNA, like, as a creator, but there's nothing for anything to hide behind on this project. Like, what you see is what you get. And I've never released something that's so face value. Like, this is the book that you can judge by its cover, and you will get, like, you will know exactly what was going through my mind when I wrote these songs. There's something so vulnerable about releasing something that is so deeply personal, and that in itself is such a vulnerable experience. But then knowing that you're not there in the room with every listener, being able to contextualize what they're hearing and answer their questions and tell them about it, tell them the story behind it and how that differs from where you're at the current moment. Not being able to give people that guidance and context is terrifying. My hope for this album, for this music, is just that it can help people heal, and it can help people move on the way that these songs help me heal and move on. It's not that this album isn't mine, and it sure as hell is not that I'm not proud of it, because I'm deeply, deeply proud of this music. Probably more proud of this music than any music I've ever written and created for myself. But it's that these songs aren't for me anymore. I don't think I've ever released an album that has such a distinct purpose in my mind. Before I started writing these songs, during writing these songs, I was inspired by so much music, but probably the single inspiration, if I had to cite one source for where this project comes from in DNA form, at the essence of what this project is, would be Adele's 30, because I've never been somebody, I respect Adele, but I've never been somebody who is a fan. But that album was so specific, it was so vulnerable, and I would listen to that album and I just would cry at being this is me. I've never felt so related to music in my life. I've been passionate about music. I've been invested in music. I've been deeply moved by music. But I have not been so understood by music in my whole life. And that sounds so funny to me to say, that it was a fucking Adele album that made me feel that way. But I can't lie. I can't lie and say that it wasn't. I think there's a distinction between the songs and the album. The songs had a purpose, and that was to help me heal. And they still have a purpose, and that's to help other people heal. And to be always a reminder of where I've come from. That's the song's purpose. The album's purpose is to let somebody know they're understood, that they're not alone in what they're going through, the way that 30 helped me feel that way. My music isn't really ever premeditated, as far as when I don't set out to do something. I don't set out to make something. But this project, the one premeditated, predestined purpose it had in my mind was to help people heal the way that album helped me heal.